Okay, in this second part, what we're going to do is going to show you guys how to actually bring in a button and how to actually call a web page from that button. Okay, so you're really starting to do some stuff that might be a little bit more difficult in JavaScript, but just a click of a button, you'll be able to do that in Flash, and so it's really easy to do. So first of all, let's get some buttons. Now I've actually gone to the web, to Google. I typed in buttons, icons, and hit images, and all the icon images came up. And I found this nice little image that's an iStock photo that's actually we don't have copyright to, but you'd want to go and buy this if you're going to use any of these images. And then right here, you see this line right here, this X here means that we don't have copyright. But so you want to go and purchase that. And iStock has some beautiful images. The great thing about this is it's already got a nice glossy look on it right here. And a lot of people do this programmatically, and that's fine, but actually uses more processor. So what I'll do, if I build a button in Flash, for example, I put some glossiness on it, I actually want to export that as an image and bring it back because I don't want all that processing happening. So a lot of people do, they'll build images up in Flash. They'll really do a lot of work. But you got to be careful when you do that because you actually have to do processing to build that image. It slows your computer down. So then I'll export it as an image and bring it back if you're going to do that way. It's at 67%, so it looks kind of pixelated. So I'm actually going to make this a little bit bigger. So I'll bring Photoshop up. Down here at the bottom, I can make it 100% right here. And there's my button. Now, you guys are new to Photoshop, so I'm going to show you this cute little trick here. Of course, what I'm going to do is, what panel do I actually want to be doing a lot of work in? You guys remember? Layers panel, right? There's my layers panel right there. And I'm going to get rid of that little lock. Let's just duplicate that. We'll get rid of the lock here. And now I actually have this, and if you turn off your eyeball, you see you are dealing with that indeed. So I actually want to get rid of that white, and the way I get rid of that white is use my magic wand. And it didn't do very well, and the reason it didn't do very well is because the tolerance is really set low. So let's bring the tolerance up higher. Let's bring it up to 20, for example. And click that magic wand, and look, it's almost got it all. You see that? So if I hit the backspace or delete, there you go. Now I have all these transparent buttons. Pretty cool. But you know, I actually want one of these buttons. I don't want a whole bunch of transparent buttons. That looks stupid, right? So let's choose a button that we might use, for example, for the website. What button might we use here to call a website? I don't see a whole lot of good buttons, but we can think of. Here's a little website button. Look at that. So one thing I could do is I could use my crop tool, or I could just drag around this with my little marquee, for example. Oh, look at this. Looks to me I got a little bit of white here, don't I? So let's go back and get my magic wand, click on that. Get rid of that white. I got a little bit of line here, so I can come along and get my eraser. And I can erase that. If you want your eraser to get larger, you got these square brackets right here. See that? That makes it larger. This makes it smaller using the square brackets. So if you use the right square bracket, it gets larger, and the left square bracket, the eraser gets smaller. And I can use that to erase my line. Now look, it's got a fade on there. I don't like that, right? So I'm going to Control Z that. Let's go back. Let's put a little bit more hardness on that eraser. So I'm going to come here to my right here, and I can adjust the hardness right there. You see that? Completely hard. So now when I erase, it erases what I roll over. See that? If I want to feather it, for example, let's set a Control Z here, and I go to feather, then I want feathering, then I would reduce the hardness. You see that? And with that done like that, then I can actually get kind of a feathering effect. And a lot of people like that gradient blur, for example, or gradient transparency is what you're getting there. That's Control Z. Yeah, I don't want to do that. I just want to erase that line right there. So I come along here and I actually want to do what? Let's go back to my brush and make it completely hard. Ah, you're so hard. And let's go ahead and get rid of that. There you go. Kind of got rid of that. Good. And once again, if you want to get closer, you just magnify it. So I'm going to come along here, take my little marquee, I'm going to clip around this little web thing right here. And once again, if you were going to actually use this in a website, you'd want to do what? Purchase it, because it's copyrighted. All right? Got that? So let's go ahead and select the inverse. Hit delete. And let's go ahead and I don't want all this transparency. You have an idea what I do? I want to trim it. So I'd go to images. That's the place you always want to kind of start. And there's a little thing called trim. Hit trim right here, and it says trim transparent pixels. And when I do that, there it is right there. Now notice it didn't trim everything, and that's because I got some of this white line sticking out there, so I can bring my eraser back if I want to, and I can actually erase some of that white line. Try not to get anything else. Probably some white line there. Just erase a little bit. Oh, I did a bad thing, right? You want to make sure you don't erase your image, but you can always go back with Control Z or Control Alt Z. And let's go ahead and go trim again. And there you go. Centered it up. Now I got my button saved. Now I have to save this as transparent. So I can't get away without not being transparent. So if it's going to have a transparent channel in it, what kind of image it's going to be? JPEG or PNG? ping. Absolutely right. So at this point, let's go ahead and export this for the web. All right, I'm going to export this for the web, and that's a JPEG because I'm seeing that that white there. So let's change that to a ping. File ping. It's got to be ping 24. Don't choose ping 8. Ping 24. Okay, and you do that. There's your transparency back, and we're going to go ahead and save this. And you see right now that ping is 13K. That's almost the size of my huge image, isn't it? Remember how huge my image was? But yet this is so small, but yet it's so big. So what's the problem? Well, you've got all these color differentiations here, large color spectrum. So you're done with that. Let's go ahead and save that. And so I can come down here and hit the save button. That is almost an 80 by 80 image, which is not too bad. Save. I want to make one more point here too. This is a way you can actually do a final adjustment here. So if you actually want to change the size of this, you could make this 100, for example, and that would expand that for you. So actually, here's if you get to the end and say it's not quite the right size, you can change the size here. We'll just Control Z that. I'll go back to 80. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and export this. And I'll call this World Button. Go ahead and hit your Save button. And now I have World Button saved in my iStock folder, and I want to now bring that into Flash. So I'm bringing up Flash. Okay. And I want to go ahead and create another layer. So let's create another layer. We're going to call that layer Buttons. And we're going to go ahead and import that button to the stage. So go File, Import to Stage. And we'll look for that world icon. It's so beautiful because Flash is so visible, so I can see everything I'm doing. I can see the icons and everything. Click on that. And that should be on the stage somewhere. Let's see, where is it? There it is right there. And right now, look, I didn't do a very good job in Photoshop because what do I have going around here? This little white area right here. I do not like that at all. So I need to do just a little bit more work on this. There's two ways to do this. I could actually create a circular mask and mask this out, or I can actually take it back into Photoshop and do a little bit of blur here on the side. I'm actually going to do the blur. The problem with a mask, once again, for optimization is when you do a mask, you have to mathematically draw that mask. And when you're ever doing any type of mathematical operation, it does bring down your performance. So let's bring it right back into Photoshop and fix that blur right there. Didn't see that until I actually brought it into Photoshop. So let's go ahead and go back to Photoshop, and we don't really have to do a whole lot of work here because we're already in Photoshop. And you know what I'm going to do here is kind of help myself out a little bit. I'm going to put another layer here that I'm actually not going to use, but just so I can see what's going on. So let's hit a blank layer. Let's put that on the bottom, okay? And let's go ahead and fill that layer with a dark color. Very good, very good. You have learned something here today, Matt. Appreciate it. Pick your layer. I'm on the wrong layer, and Matt's telling me that. That's good. And dump that in there, and there's black. And now I can see, hey, that's bad, right? Now I see what's going on. Now I don't want that layer in the end, but I need it now just for the drawing. I'll get rid of it before I export. So I'm going to use my little, I have some options here. I have a blur tool. Let's try that real quick. Let's try another way of getting rid of this. Let's see if I can get a circular marquee. Ah, look at that. Circular marquee. Isn't that nice? Let's go ahead and see if we can select that. Circular wise. There you go. Just like that. All the way around. See that? And now what I'm going to do, I'm going to actually I'm going to select the inverse. At this point, once I've selected the area I want to delete, I can get rid of this layer now. They're right in the trash can. And guess what? That still stays on there. And now I'm going to delete. And I've gotten rid of it. And that looks pretty good. Okay? So now let's go ahead and export this. Export. Save for the web. And it's looking pretty good. And it's still about the same size. We're going to save that. Going to save that as the world button. Once again, save. And it's going to replace it. And then we're just going to bring that into Flash and it'll replace what we have in Flash. So let's go ahead and do that real quick. File, import to stage. All right, and let's look for our world button. And that look cool. And it says, do I want to replace what's already there? And yes, that's nice that Flash tells you that. Okay, and it replaced it, but I don't even need that anymore. Now one thing is, once again, it's still some artifacts here that you probably want to use the blur tool on, but that's good for now for what we want to show you today. Okay, so you can do a lot of work on images in Photoshop. I mean, you're going to need to learn Photoshop and Flash. If you're going to ever do this for a profession, learn Photoshop really well, learn Flash really well, and you'll always have work, at least for a while, until Flash goes away and something else takes its place. Okay, so at this point what we're going to do is we're going to actually want to click on this, and we actually want something to happen. We want it to bring up a website.